Moving on, it's our AED program. Jamie, you want to bring us up to speed on that?
The county commission approved money at the last meeting through grant money to purchase some AEDs. The wording on that motion was county-owned vehicles. I know there's been a committee of citizens in the county that's been, and responders that have been working on this AED program, led by Bill Killen. Let Bill address this committee on his visions of this program, if that's fine with everybody, and then we'll have Jason talk about some legalities and how to tie into that. Bill, would you like to address the committee? I move Bill's vision of this.
For the benefit of this committee and the attendees, the work of the EMS committee that was appointed in 2019 identified the requirements, the minimum requirements for EMS in the county is 9 staff units. And there aren't 9 staff units in Hawkins County EMS. And there are areas of the county where you could not get an EMS unit within 10 to 12 minutes, in some cases a little longer. And so a group of citizens got together and formed an ad hoc committee called the Hawkins County Improved Life Safety Committee. And the goal was to figure out some solutions that would maybe improve life safety in the county. And that included putting AEDs in law enforcement vehicles and in fire stations that didn't have AEDs. Mount Carmel Police Department has AEDs in their vehicles. Churchill has the AEDs in some of their vehicles. AEDs is a very good tool. We've met with different groups. Some of the churches have, since our meetings, added AEDs to their churches. Many of the churches already had it. A number of businesses and doctors' offices have AEDs. I appreciate the motion that Commissioner Moss made to add that to the county commission's budget. 50, our goal was to put 100 units out. And when we were looking at this, we had researched prices. Since that time, an individual has provided information that remanufactured AEDs are available. I think it's a great idea when you say county-owned vehicles. Yeah, it would be great to have one in a dump truck, but you'd have more use out of it if it was in a sheriff's vehicle or if it was in one of the volunteer fire department's vehicles. So I think it's a good idea, it's a good concept, and I think that it was a good move to do that. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding the AED committee. 2 of our county commissioners serve on that committee, Tom Kearns and Keith Gibson. The committee has met several times up until we got into this face mask circus, and we've had a couple of phone calls, but as soon as things lighten up, I'm sure we'll be back to working on this project again. Be happy to answer any questions you might have about the project. Thank you.
Sir, Mr. Killen.
Yeah.
Just a minute. Training to use the AED, how's that going to be provided? Has anybody discussed that yet?
We had a vendor talk to us through our group, and they provide the training. They're very simple and easy to use. I like to use the term they're firefighter proof. I feel I'm qualified to use the term firefighter proof after 65 years in the business.
Right.
And they're very simple. The instructions are there and very easy to follow. It's a great device. You can find them in just about every airport terminal that you might fly through, or public places, train stations, bus depots. It's a great device and very simple to use. Now, I believe I got an email from the mayor here a few weeks ago. There are regulations in the state of Tennessee about dealing with AEDs and training that goes with them. But it's very simple, and just about anyone can use the device, particularly if they follow the instructions that come with the automated instructions that come with it.
The reason I asked that question, we got one for our church, and they provided training for it, but we had to pay for the training. I didn't know if that was still available.
Well, the training should come with it. Commissioner Metz has AED in his home and one in his business. He shared that with me. I haven't seen him, but took him at his word that he does have that.
Is the warranty on a remanufactured unit the same as a new one?
I can't quote that. I was informed that there's a 4-year warranty on a remanufactured unit. I invited the individual that told me that to come to this meeting. I don't know if he's here. Is Dustin here? No, I don't see it. But there are people that are more familiar with AEDs than I am. But I can tell you that it's a great tool. They've been around for a number of years.
Okay. What's the county's liability on something like this?
I'm not an attorney.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you that, but I believe there's no real liability engaged with it. It comes under the Good Samaritan law.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions?
Well, Jason's, up here is how that on the grid and BMS.
You are.
We'll allow Jason to explain how that will integrate into EMS. The program typically has to be ran under EMS.
I spoke with the regional EMS representative, and per his email, when I asked him about the AED program that the county was looking into, he stated that if the responder that is equipped with an AED is dispatched on 911 calls, we will have to have a first responder agreement, which is also known as an MOU, detailing what they will respond to, spell out who will maintain the AED and the supplies, who will check them monthly for in-date supplies and good batteries, whose insurance covers them, their general liability, and who is responsible for training. They would also have to submit training that is approved by our medical director annually and a list of everyone who will be using the AEDs each year. All of this is similar to a first responder agreement. Each AED location should also be filed with 911 dispatch so they know about them for dispatch purposes. So a lot of it is based on how you set up the system of if they're going to be dispatched by 911. If they are dispatched by 911, then there's a lot of agreements that have to be reached, a lot of paperwork, and training records obtained and kept on file.
Who would be responsible for that?
Each individual agency that has the
Police department,
AED,
fire department, something
they
like
have to give us that information to keep on file.
that. Okay.
Something that was not addressed by the county commission during that resolution was what vehicles these go in. It was listed, I pulled the motion, it was listed as county-owned vehicles. That county doesn't own the fire departments or the rescue squad or EMS, which EMS has monitors, it won't be an issue for them. But when if you look at, there may be other locations that these would be vital as well that are hard locations. For example, the jail, courthouse, court side at the jail. There probably needs to be an assessment on where the true needs are as well as in vehicles. The motion just says county-owned vehicles, and that was never addressed, and who's going to make that decision has not been addressed either on where these will be located. It's a very vital program to the public, be very beneficial, but there's a whole lot of work still to be done.
Everybody realizes it's not gonna happen until we get our grant from the state too. So, you know, that's where the money's originally coming from.
Right.
It's not gonna happen tomorrow.
Right.
So we need to set up the paperwork and stuff. Now, I understand exactly what you've read, but you have an officer that has one in his car and he comes up on something that has to be done right there and hasn't been dispatched by 911. Is he gonna be covered?
That would fall back on that agency's general liability insurance.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I think at this point, just from my viewpoint, it sounds to me like there is gonna be a lot of issues that needs to be worked out through Jamie as far as asking questions to the person on that. And rather than us to say today where they go or who gets them, I think we need to get their info and know where the liability and get our paperwork done and then go from there.
I don't care at all being involved in that, but I think we need to do that as a committee approach and get many opinions on where those best locations are.
Can you set that committee up, Dan?
Everyone will say that through this.
This can use this committee.
Yeah, but I mean, we could have,
2 or 3, public.
yeah.
And the responding.
Yeah, this will be the commission part of it, and then you get some other people to come in. Jason, Sheriff Ronnie Lawson,
You know, set up a,
Mr. Kitchell,
want to
whoever.
set up a meeting in the future just to address fully this AED issue once more
Yes.
details have been discovered.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Next county commissioner, we would, take care of both of them, so,
No, no, we need to talk about this before we present anything.
I don't think we've got time to make an
You
informal
won't fire
decision.
No, we'll get together with people and determine more about what we need to do with that. Is that agreeable with everybody? Do we need to make a motion on it?
Do you want to address the sheriff's office side of that one as far as the involvement and some of the stuff we discussed the other day? Just briefly.
We're certainly happy to look at anything that you all present to us. As far as the number of AEDs that we're probably looking at needing is about 35 to 40. Certainly our fleet is much larger than that, but all those vehicles aren't moving every single day. I mean, we've got backup vehicles that may just be sitting there for 2 or 3 weeks and it's not moved. So it's a lot of, that y'all have already mentioned, it's a lot of stuff that needs to be worked out in the long run. So but we're happy to look at anything that you all put toward us.
Yes, sir.
I would like to add that when this project began, 2 of our committee members met with the mayor and the sheriff and one of his officials. And at that point in time, there was agreement and consensus that this was a good idea and they wanted to participate in it. We also brought in an attorney, I believe from Morristown, that came in and spoke on this project. And I'm sure that he would be willing to come back again to discuss the situation. And there's another element, a program called Pulse Point that's used all across the country that is a system that could be incorporated with the 911 center that locates AEDs. So if there's an issue, that system can identify where there's an AED that's closest to that, whether it's a police vehicle, a fire vehicle, or something that's privately owned. And I mentioned that to the former 911 director, and I've not had an opportunity to really sit down with the current director and discuss that program with him.
Well, I don't think anybody's saying it's not a good idea, but there's things that we have to do to put it in place to make it a workable idea. And that's why I think we need to get a committee together and work it out, have everything laid out, present it to the commission, and say this is what we're going to do.
We'll make the county AED committee, that's a volunteer group, we'll make that group available to work with the EMA director.
Okay. Nobody's mentioned the cost per AED yet. What's a rough idea on that?
We had a meeting with a vendor here a couple of weeks ago, and there was 2 different versions. One of them was about $1,800, and the other was almost $2,000. Those were new units. Now, a friend of mine contacted me, and he has a vendor available who can provide remanufactured units for under $500.
Another big thing with this AED program is you want to purchase AEDs that are compatible with our cardiac monitors. So that way, if a law enforcement officer's out with the cardiac arrest, once we get there, we don't have to take the time to change out the pads. We can just unplug his device and plug ours right up to it. So that's going to play into the price factor as well, because you're going to be on a.
But you can provide that information.
Yes.
Okay.
This will also be a bid project, all due to the size of it, so
Right.
it'll be sent out for bid.
Well, we gotta know what we gotta bid for first.
Exactly, yeah, which will bring in those specs.
Right.
If the remanufactured units are guaranteed for 4 years, what about the new ones? What kind of warranty on the new ones?
I don't recall the exact quote that the lady gave us on the new ones on the warranty.
There's not much to tear up with the battery, correct?
Well, your pads will have an expiration date, usually around 24 months or 2 years is usually what they'll usually last, and then the battery itself.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I will suggest that as the board and stuff looks into this, may I give you a reference to Seattle, Washington's EMS service in their city? Something that we learned about years ago. As Seattle, Washington implemented an AED program into their community, they trained their community in CPR and AEDs and put these almost on every street corner. It was a widely available thing. And over a period of, I believe it was 2 years, their amount of cardiac arrest deaths that resulted in death was decreased almost 60% because of their community involvement that they had with the AED program. It is a very good program to be into the community if it's implemented right. And at that point of looking into it, even AED stations, any mall you go into, any airport you go into, if you look and see where they are, they're there. They're that easy to use that I can take my 10-year-old or 12-year-old to the house and take him in 5 minutes or less, show him that. I can hand it to him and they can pretty well figure it out. If you can look at pictures, you can work an AED to save somebody's life. Even at that point, I know there's a lot of legalities and who will be responsible here and there, but as far as the community and looking into, may I lead you towards Seattle's program just to see their numbers and what they did and how they went about their program on that side, on where they was looking at. Just to give you kind of a point of reference for a town that done that and has a lot of studies with an individual AED program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I would like to digress for a moment. I invited one of Hawkins County's newest residents to come to this meeting today. Mr. Don Hyatt is a retired Assistant Chief of Operations for the Atlanta Fire Department and was very instrumental in setting up a lot of their programs in EMS. And he's one of the founding officers, charter officers in the EMS section of the IFC. And I wanted him to come down today to provide any information he might be able to provide this committee, and also to meet with the mayor. We've already had some meetings with the County Fire Association regarding the fire issues.
Okay. What was your name again, sir?
My name is Don Hyatt. I'm a resident of Rogersville, 219 Allenwood Drive. And if you go to the Google map, it'll tell you it's Allenwood Lane, which is an issue, but that's a copyright on maps. All the map companies have little things in their maps to copyright it. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, gentlemen, for serving.
So where are we at? Tim, you gonna set the committee up?
Yeah, I'll set it up.
Give us a date to get
I'll give
together.
them a feel and we'll get together and get integrated with that group that's already been working on this. And the new members that we need to be added from the agencies.
Right. Sound good. Larry, what do you think?
As far as a question for the committee, are we still looking at only county-owned vehicles as that resolution states?
No, we'll have to address that as a commission to include fire departments and things that the county doesn't own.
Okay.
I would think. It will have to.
And buildings as well. And we may be looking at, again, that early on, we're discussing that. That might could be done, actually be done at the next meeting, if you choose to do it that way.
We can probably do that after the first committee meeting.
Okay.
So that we know what we're doing and say, this is what we can do with our money, this is what we can do, we need to make some changes.
Sounds good.
That way we have information to give people and just say, no, we ain't gonna do that. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if you decide to start putting AEDs in non-county-owned vehicles, it'll need to have a budget limit to accompany it. The way I have to structure the budget currently is only for county-owned property.
Right.
So it's doable, but it'll be a budget limit that will follow as well.
Well, okay.
That amendment, I didn't write that resolution. I think resolution number 5, somebody else had included it, and I just moved it over to number 4. So
I completely understand.
I had to give any thought to it, so I saw it there. And I just moved it. So,
Yeah.
I think
yeah, I guess
after
we'll
we
have
have
to
the
make
committee
a lot of changes.
Yeah. And that's just issues that come along with any program this size.
Any other questions or comments? You move to adjourn. Second. Okay, guys, we're done.
Oh, Jeff.